Hi, everyone. This is Talkback. I'm Sheila Horvitz, and we're doing a series of special shows through StreamYard during this period. We're talking to everyone who's impacted by the coronavirus. We're talking to people in politics, in medicine, in the community life, in the arts, in theater, in entertainment, because all of that is important during this time. I'm very happy today to have with us Becca Atkins, who is a director of Artreach, which is a wonderful resource in the community. And I'll let Rebecca tell you what Artreach is. Hello, Rebecca. How are you today?
Hey, Sheila, doing good. Thank you for having me.
Okay. What is Artreach? Describe it and why it's such an important resource in the community.
So Artreach is, we've been in Norwich since 1985, and we're an arts organization that provides creative arts opportunities and performing opportunities to adults who've been diagnosed with psychiatric disorders. And we do this for several purposes: for the healing of the individuals in the program, and also for the healing of the community by doing public performances and reducing some of the negative stereotyping that can still happen about people who have mental illnesses.
And how are the residents or the participants in Artreach, how are they brought into the program? What resources do you use to find those people, and how do they get to you?
So they get to us through a number of channels. We're good friends with the other nonprofit mental health organizations in the area, like Sound Community Services and Reliance Health. And the staff there and a lot of their program members know about us or have worked with us, and they refer people to us. But quite often it's word of mouth. Someone will be in, say, a partial hospital program, and they'll hear somebody else in the group who's in our theater troupe talking about what a good resource it is for them. And that's how a lot of people come in. It's just word of mouth.
So how many people do you have actively participating in your program now?
I think we have close to 60 on the books, but about 40 to 45 who are quite active, doing different parts of the program. Some of them overlap and do a lot. Some just do a little.
And do you have a physical space? Do you have a building? Where do you do your activities?
So our physical space is located over on the Uncas-on-Thames campus, same campus where the Southeastern Mental Health Authority is. There are a lot of mental health organizations on that campus. And we have a suite in an office building there that we use for our rehearsals and our office spaces.
So tell us,
right now, we're working from home.
Who developed the concept of Artreach? I'm imagining that Norwich, Connecticut is not the only city in the country that has something like that. Where was that concept developed? And give us a little bit of the history if you can.
Okay, this is a two-part answer. Number one is you'd be surprised that there's not anything really like us anywhere else.
Wow.
That is still true. We have some unique things about this program. So when we do tours out of state, people are always saying, where's the Artreach in my area? And, there's just not. It's an interesting hybrid because it's a mental health and an arts organization, and we are fully both of those things. Although a lot of people do participate in the arts, either music or visual art, for healing. But mostly it's approached as therapy. We say that the way that we approach it is, although it's therapeutic, we're not going in a clinical fashion and processing people's issues. Instead, we're helping people build community and interpersonal connections and just the basic things that make you happy in life and can help you when you've got a hardship going on. But you ask where it started. So the brainchild of this was Rana Kyle. Back in 1985, she worked at one of the local mental health organizations doing theater with residents in an inpatient part of their program. And she was a theater gal. And so she had said, can I do theater with people as my psychosocial rehab? She was a case manager. And when it grew and became very popular, S.J. Williams, who was her partner, joined her, and they together started the nonprofit that is Artreach, and that continues. It started just with the Second Step Players, our theater troupe, and it's grown from there to include more things like a full-out music program, a full-out arts program, and more wellness opportunities like just yoga and dance and physical wellness.
So what is the age range of the people who are in the program, and what is the level of psychological disabilities? What is the range of the people who have the ability to participate?
So a wide range, but we don't work with kids, which surprises people. They often assume that we're working with kids, but adults need the arts too. So we work with people who are over 18. And I think the youngest person right now is probably early 30s, but most of our folks are more than 50 and up to early 70s. And that's partly because they've worked with us for 20 plus years. People come and they stay. It's a community that's very supportive to them, and they continue to grow and use what we have available and, stay stable as a result of participating. So wide range.
So what's the range of, because I'm asking, are people involved in actual psychiatric or psychological therapy while they're participating in Artreach? Do they have regimens of medication that they have to take?
Mhm.
How involved do you get in that? Do people come in and come out because sometimes their situation worsens and gets better? I mean, talk about those factors, which I'm thinking about.
So there's a wide variety of diagnoses too. I would say the bulk of the people working with us have some degree of anxiety, some degree of depression, and many, many more have bipolar disorder. Some are diagnosed with schizophrenia, with obsessive compulsive disorder. It's pretty much across the board. But to come and participate in Artreach, they do need to be getting clinical services from somewhere else that's not us. We don't do clinical work. So we ask that somebody has case management or therapy somewhere else. And that people take responsibility for knowing when they need extra help. And sometimes they'll step out for a while. And if they're decompensating, not doing so well, but then they'll come back. So what happens is that if somebody's symptoms are too loud for them to participate effectively in a project, they step out and we talk about it, and they know that the door is open when they're ready to come back. So it's okay if we're in the last week of a show and somebody has something happen and they simply cannot do it, we're going to throw a safety net, and they're not going to get kicked out. They're not going to get shamed for having to step out. They'll be able to come back in when they're ready.
Okay. So my next question is, do the people who participate, do they have already an interest, maybe a talent, a desire, or some spark inside of them that wants to come out through the art? Or are they people who've never given a thought to art, music, theater at all in their lives, but are now in the program?
I would say some of both. I mean, people get hooked, definitely. And they'll come and start a music project and then see the fun people are having with the theater project, and then they'll try something new. So a lot of times people come in through one door that's their creative interest, but they'll stay and try different art forms and discover something they may like even better. Most people have some interest in doing some kind of, either they want to sing or they want to act or they want to paint. They usually have some glimmer of interest before they come in, but it grows. And it becomes about more than that. It becomes about the community that's working together on a common goal. And also recognizing that participating in these group projects, like a music project with a band or a theater production, that you matter, that your place matters and you're contributing as well as getting something back. So the group really holds itself and each other very well. There's not a lot of ego in our group. People, set that aside. They don't come in wanting to be a star. They come in just wanting to participate with others.
Is a certain amount of extrovertism important, or are there artistic activities like the painting, maybe poetry or writing, that more introverted person can do and still participate in the art? How much is it a performance that needs an audience type of thing?
Well, it's both. And I'll tell you, I'm going to bust a myth right now. Because, for example, performing musicians and songwriters across the board, they're pretty much introverts. It's different from what you think. This is largely true of actors, too. People who are good at acting and who study that craft often are introverts. And the painful part is getting on stage in front of people and performing. But if you think about it, to develop that kind of craft, you have to have quite an internal life and an ability to spend a lot of time alone practicing to develop your skill. So introverts are kind of wired even for the performing arts. And many introverts are in heaven right now, like me, working from home. People think that I'm an extrovert because I do this performing arts career, and the absolute opposite is true. That's the hard part for me. But I've had a lot of practice over the years, so I'm better at getting out with other people.
That's fascinating. I loved how you explained that. That's really, really terrific. Because you do hear about the most famous of actors who vomit before they go on stage every single time, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a jazz singer, Holly Cole. I mean, I've seen somebody have to walk her to the stage because she's petrified.
Right.
There's a lot of stage fright in people who perform.
But then once you get on stage, you kind of lose yourself in the role or whatever it is that you're doing, portraying, whatever, and you're comfortable there in that
And
space.
knowing that the community is holding you and that they're with you, that's a really key part, is knowing there's support around you and you can take in support. And if you get in trouble, somebody's going to throw you a line.
Right. So what would you say, in a couple of sentences, is the mission of Artreach? Obviously, I love the word reach because we're reaching for that talent we have, that inner strength we have to display our talents, to bring them forth. But what is the mission of Artreach for the people that you're helping?
In a small nutshell, it's healing through the arts. And that means individuals and communities through the stigma busting. That's the main thing. But we also, it's also arts for the shy, making it accessible, making theater accessible to people who have looked at it longingly from a distance and want to try it. I mean, we create this safe space. So people who are shy, brutally shy, can come in and sing, can come in and learn to play something, can come in and act. And we don't talk there a lot about, oh, how are you healing? How are you growing? It's an organic byproduct of working together on these creative projects. It's a nice thing for people to be able to have something they haven't had access to that matters to them. It helps give people purpose and keep people learning, which is really important.
Well, what I wanted also to ask is, are there any scientifically backed experiments, studies that show that participating in a creative arts program while you're undergoing therapeutics for your anxiety, depression, or whatever the issues are that you have, make a difference, can shorten your therapy, can bring more contentment and less anxiety? Are there studies that show how important art is to that?
There are, and I wish I'd looked some up before I talked to you. There's a lot more research on music than theater, as far as at least what I'm aware of right now. There's a ton of research on music and what it does to your brain. But also recently, I've seen some great studies about working in a choir. And that's really the same science that applies with Artreach, is working together on creative projects in a group, and how that just magnifies the positive outcome that you get.
Right. So when someone's involved in this, they can be involved Monday through Friday. We're going to take a look at some of the slides we have that show your schedule. But before we do that, just give us an idea of some of the programs that go on from morning till evening that you have now, and then we'll talk about what's happening during this period of time.
Okay. So during normal times, right now, this is Mental Health Month. May is Mental Health Month. So if this were any other year, we would be out in the community with our sketch comedy troupe, the Second Step Players, doing some educational sketch comedy fun shows at local libraries. We would also have an art show hanging at least one library, and I'll give a shout out to Otis Library because we always do Mental Health Month there. We also, unfortunately, we just missed one of our favorite things, which is our annual coffee house performance. So we would have been having twice weekly rehearsals with a couple of bands that consist of volunteer professional musicians from the community, with all of our members having picked songs and rehearsing those songs. And we would have done our show at the Donald Oak Theater, the Norwich Arts Center. We'll do it later when we can do it again. But that's the kind of thing that we would be doing now. Art classes were going on weekly, and recreation events to arts and cultural events in the community were going on weekly.
You have something called the Science of Well-Being. What is that?
So this is something that honestly that we are only able to do right now because we're working from home. What happened in the transition here when we had to start working from home is that we really had to look at what can our members do right now on the computer that would be beneficial at this time. So while my focus is often on what are we doing in the public, how are we doing the arts, it quickly shifted to how can we take care of our people during this crisis. And I became aware of the Science of Wellbeing course on the learning platform Coursera last year at a mental health conference. The person from Yale who developed the program, and she taught it at Yale. So the online course shows her class that she was teaching at Yale. I went to a lecture that she did, and it just sounded fantastic. So I was aware that it was there. I was aware that it was free. I checked with our members, and they wanted to participate. So the course is about basic resilience skills, things like keeping a gratitude journal, things like getting physical exercise and making a daily routine. So it's part science of why these things work to help you stay stable, and it's part practice. And what we're doing with it is the people who were interested all signed up individually for their class online. And twice a week, we do a support group. So we get together on Zoom, and everybody's moving at their own pace. But people talk about what they're working on in the class. And, we solve any technical challenges people are having with navigating the course. And of course, I always have my eye on something else because I am a clinician, although I'm not doing clinical work with our folks. So I always have an eye on what can we do that will be helpful right now in anything to build resilience right now.
Can you see the screen? Can you see the Artreach logo?
There it is.
Yes, there it is. And I want to go through some of these slides that will also give us an idea of the various programs that you have. So
Right.
That's who developed that lovely logo.
That would be my friend Mark Larson, who lives up in upstate New York, and he designs album covers and other graphics, obviously. But he did that beautiful logo for us.
That's great. That's great. What do we have now? Okay, who is that?
So this is one of our program members who received a donated laptop. We got laptops donated from Pfizer because we quickly became aware that many of our program members did not have access to the internet because they didn't have a computer. So Pfizer donated laptops, and I spent the next couple of weeks setting them up for people so that it would be easy for them to check their email and get into a Zoom meeting. And I'm pretty excited, honestly, to have so many more members having these laptops, because we'll keep some of the things that we're doing online. We will add to our program and keep doing even after we're doing stuff in person. We're seeing so many benefits. Shy people show up more to some of these things. Having the one step removed on the computer can be really helpful. And, so we've gotten many people up and running thanks to this donation. It's been fantastic.
All right. So there they are, right?
Yep. New laptops in hand. And then I think the next one may be another one of the, oh yeah, there's a calendar. Okay.
All right, so this shows us the various, so this was April, and then we've got one for May. We can go to the May one. We
Okay.
have the same idea. So this is all now virtually through the laptops, through the computers, right?
Yes. And you'll see everything on there from guided meditation and yoga to this twice a week science of well-being, but also some arts classes. So our music director right now needed something to do virtually, and he's running field trips on Zoom to fantastic art museums with the virtual tours that are available. So each week they do either an art museum or a national park, and they've been together. So on the group, they get on the Zoom call, and then he does a screen share. So everybody walks through the museum, and he has talking points prepared for what people are seeing. It's been really cool.
Wow. So I see you've been to the Carlsbad Caverns, the Bryce Canyon, the Dried Tortugas. Wow.
Yeah, and last month we did the Andy Warhol Museum and the Met. And oh gosh, there was another one last month that was an art museum that was really good.
And
The Vatican.
Yeah, you've got some yoga and guided meditation. And now, what percentage of people participate in all of these activities? Are you getting good?
So for each one of it depends on the activity. I would say in most of the Zoom call activities, we haven't had more than 12 people on any single activity. So it's anywhere between just a couple of people to a dozen. And honestly, the best attended thing right now is the afternoon Zoom teas that we're doing once a week that have no agenda. So on weeks when people are pretty stressed out, particularly if they just can't do something organized or something like a class, they'll show up to these drop-in Zoom teas. We make a cup of tea, we talk about anything, we just hang out together. So we've tried to provide a variety of things from very structured, like that Coursera class that lasts for 10 weeks, to completely non-structured, just pure connection, if that's what people need in a simple way.
Okay. So yeah, we saw May, and so April, you had kind of similar things.
And May was two-sided. May we had to do a two-sided calendar in May because there's so many things.
So you've got a tongue twisters with Emma. Well, I know that's Emma Palzire. We had her on. She's part of your Artreach. Yeah. What is that like? Everybody goes in unison to try and do the tongue twisters?
Well, so that was an interesting one, and we'll continue to do that. So she had seen in the show The Crown, they were working with tongue twisters in an episode of that, and she was intrigued because they referenced a book. So she got this book and developed a class with tongue twisters to do as theater warm-ups, because you always do some, vocal warm-up tongue twisters. And we gave that class a test run yesterday, and it was really fun. We quickly discovered that we could not leave our microphones on. We had to leave only the teacher's microphone on because the voices collide. It's like how you can't perform music together on this. You have to only hear one person. Right. But it went well. So I found personally that to practice the complicated tongue twisters, I was really able to dive in because nobody could hear me, but I was speaking along with Emma, and I think it's a great way to do it.
Right. We've had another participant with his mask, and
that was after the mask. After we had to do masks, so we were still delivering the computers.
Wonderful. And who donated the computers for you?
Pfizer, the Pfizer Foundation.
Wow. Okay, is this your staff? Tell us about some of these
Actually,
people.
No, it's not staff. So I got permission from all these folks so that I could show the picture. This is from, gosh, was it yesterday? Is it this? What day is this?
Today is Friday.
Yes, this was just yesterday. So this was a picture from our afternoon tea, the agendaless hangout. And a couple of those people who were on have only started to be able to do the Zoom tea in the last couple of weeks because they didn't have computers, and now they come every time. So it's just really nice to see people.
Okay, but Emma is one of your staff with you.
Yes, Emma is staff. So actually, we've got four of the people in that picture are staff. The top row and Emma in the middle. That's our entire staff, the entire Artreach staff. Corinne Esty is up there, and Dick Pape is the music director. And then Emma and I, and then 3 program members in that photo.
Great. Let's see. And this is?
So that would be in normal times. We would have an art show hanging. Last year, we were able to participate in a group art show that was sponsored by Mental Health Connecticut, and it was hanging up at in Hartford, at Art Space in Hartford. And so this was a show that we went to that had our work hanging, but a bunch of other people's work hanging too. And we would be doing a lot of that kind of stuff this month if we were not working from home, but we will again.
All right. And so how many artists do you have now in the program?
Do you mean like teaching artists or?
No, I mean people who are actually working in doing art. And I mean, those walls are all Artreach people?
No, this one's from the joint show that had several mental health agencies in it.
Okay.
I would say there are about probably between 12 and 16 people who participate, who really actively engage in a lot of the art classes. And I'll give it a shout out to Faith Satterfield, the local mural artist who comes in and teaches at Artreach. She's just fantastic and makes art accessible to everyone. So people work at really different levels, but boy, have I seen some improvement over the years, and some people who've really engaged and have some skill that they're blowing out of the water now.
Wow. Oh, this looks like fun.
That one was from the Hartford. That's a bow at the end of a theater show. So I put that one in to show you have to be close together to do theater, which is problematic at the moment. But that was at the Hartford Fringe Festival, the very first Hartford Fringe Festival we got to perform in last fall, and it was pretty exciting. We did a lot of sketch comedy in there and a little bit of music as well. And it was nice to be in the Carriage House Theater in Hartford. Beautiful little space for that show. And that one is at Otis Library. You may notice their beautiful red wall. I love their red wall. And the art behind them was all created by Artreach members. So that was Mental Health Month last year at Otis Library with the art show hanging and us relaunching the Second Step Players sketch comedy, which we had not done in a while. So that was the very first show that we busted out the sketch comedy in a while. And that was really fun. And this is a shot from our last coffee house, otherwise known as our music showcase. What leads up to one of these music performances is that two bands formed by both Artreach staff and community volunteers. And these volunteers, let me tell you, have been playing with us, some of them since the late 80s. They love this so much, they continue to volunteer their time. And it's a 12-week project. They come in weekly after work and rehearse music, learn the songs that people want to sing. And they're 2 halves of the night, one band the first half, one band the second half. And we back people up to sing the song of their choice. So that's our coffee house that was scheduled for May 8th this year.
Where do you hold the coffee houses? Where are they?
So we call this production, we're trying to change the name and call it Artreach Music Showcase, but we're attached to calling it the coffee house because it's been its name. It's not really a coffee house because it's a concert that happens at the end of a 12-week rehearsal process. You kind of think of coffee houses as things where is drop-in open mics. This is not that. This is well rehearsed with a band for weeks.
And where do you do it? Where do you do it? And do people, the outside public can come? Do they pay? Do they give a contribution to Artreach? Do they pay an admission cost?
Yes.
How does that work?
We do regular ticket sales, just like any professional production. And this particular photo is from the Chestnut Street Playhouse. So we tend to go back and forth between the local theaters. So we use Chestnut Street Playhouse a lot, and also the Donald Oat Theater, part of the Norwich Arts Center. So we've performed our coffee house in both of those spaces over the last many, many years. And we tend to do just one music show a year because it's a 12-week. So we've had, up until this last year, we only had the 2 staff. And so we couldn't do a music project and a theater project at the same time. But now that we have 4, doubled the size of our staff this year, we can do some things concurrently. So we can be working on theater overlapping with working on music. It's been really active and delightful and fun to have more people working.
Yeah. And I wanted to go to the stand-up comedy thing because I feel that performance is the one where you really are most alone, most vulnerable to the slings and arrows of the crowd. It takes time sometimes to warm up the crowd when you're doing stand-up comedy, and sometimes your routine needs a lot of work. I know that many of these comedians spend days and weeks, months, years trying to hone a particular routine. So tell us about that, because it takes courage to do that, right?
Oh, good Lord,
when can we see that again, and how does that work?
Well, so let's see. The last time we did that was December, this past December, and we'll do it again soon. But we may wind up doing it in an online platform like this. It seems like probably the quickest way to do theater publicly, again, would be the stand-up like this, since it is just one voice at a time. The stand-up process has been really interesting. We started in 2010 working with David Grenier, who's a professional comedian from Vancouver. He's also a psychotherapist, and he's also a man who's diagnosed with depression and has had lifelong issues with depression. So he knows what he's talking about. But he's really good at teaching people to find their style, their unique style of comedy and their unique material. And what we tell people when they're coming in is, it seems like the first round, everybody tries to make comedy about external things, but we work really hard to say, all right, what's weird about you? That's where the gold is. So there's a lot of self-reflection, and you have to be not only self-reflective, but insightful. So, again, there's a parallel process going on. One is you're working on stand-up comedy. The other is that you're working on self-awareness and also kind of healing some of the raw edges around stuff. Some of the best comedy comes from things that you're angry at. It's a good place to write from. But you can heal some of it while you're finding the humor in it. And yes, you're right. It is hard work. The craft of writing stand-up comedy, it's so much more, it takes so much more thought and care than people are aware of. And if you're doing a good job performing, looks like you're standing there making it up. But believe me, it's not that. It is a rehearsed piece that you have crafted carefully.
And most stand-up comics really have to write their own. They may have some help once they get to be professionals, but initially they have to write their own material because it has to come out of them from their experiences.
Exactly. The true stuff is it's not funny unless it's coming from a place that's real and true.
Exactly. And
the more you can reveal, the better your comedy is going to be. So it can be educational too. And when you challenge yourself too, like that, I mean, it's terrifying to do the stand-up comedy. I've done it. It's scary. But
I know, I see Emma's done it. I see other members of your staff. You participate in these projects yourself, right?
We don't make them do anything we're not willing to do. Okay. We're going to walk the same tightrope that they are. It's just. I'm
interested in other arts. Besides the art, is there jewelry making? I'm looking at your necklace. I want you to tell me, is that necklace crafted by someone from the program, or where did that come from, and what is it? It's lovely.
Right, then I'll have to do a little aside because I do love this necklace. So I'll tell you about it. I got And there's a little bird nest. Let me see if I can get the right side. There's a little bird nest over here. Oh my gosh, it's mirror image. I can't tell what I'm doing. That has eggs in it. This was made by a woman named Nancy. Oh my God, her last name is escaping me. But I met her in I'm in a writing group with an author named Beverly D'Onofrio. And I met the artist Nancy, who's also working on a book, last summer. And she had made this necklace, and it says "Safe Home" on it. So I was very attached to it. She's a tinsmith.
Okay. Are there any of those kind of decorative arts in your program besides the art that we saw in the photo at the exhibition?
There is jewelry making. A woman who used to work with us, who's now a nurse at Bacchus Hospital, has taught jewelry making classes quite often there. And so when we've had some art shows and sales, a lot of people have made jewelry to contribute to these fundraising events. So yeah, we've had jewelry making. We do mandala coloring. There's been just a ton of art through the year, visual arts. That's new. I mean, we've been doing it for at least 10 years. But in the beginning, it was just theater. And then it was theater, quickly turned into theater and music. So it was all about performing arts for a lot of years. And then in the mid 2000s, we took a shift to add more craft, more actual writing classes to raise the bar on people's skill level. Since the same people stay for years, in order to keep growing, we have to add new things and more advanced things because people are participating and growing. So
you provide transportation for the participants?
We do. Obviously,
very important
right now, but we do. Most of the people who work with us don't drive, and so in the New London and Norwich area, we have a couple of minivans, and we go out and pick people up and bring them door to door to everything we do.
Before we close, are there any other programs that you're doing that you haven't talked about that you want to let us know about?
Gosh, I'm sure that I'm missing something.
What's the first thing you're going to do when you open up, when things open up? Hopefully they do. What's the first thing you're going to do?
I think the first thing we're going to do is probably get right back into music rehearsals for our music showcase, because that rehearsal process got thwarted midstream, and that will be pretty easy to step right back in as if we haven't missed a beat.
All right. So how does the general community, how do I access your programs?
Okay.
Do you need money? Are you funded? You're nonprofit, I'm assuming. And how are you funded? You need money. Where can I go to find out about your shows? Where are you publicizing it? Give us all of that so we can be more aware and participate in your programs.
Thank you for asking that, Sheila. So we have a Facebook page. It's facebook.com Artreach Heals. There are 2 H's in the middle, Artreach Heals. And that is also our website, is www.artreachheals.org. So we, although honestly, the website is not very updated at the moment. We're about to do a rebuild on that. So, but you still can get a general idea, and our contact info is certainly there. We update the Artreach Facebook page really regularly, and that's a very good place to stay in touch with us. And I suspect we'll be doing some Facebook Live things shortly. So we're working on some stuff behind the scenes. So Facebook is a good place to get in touch with us. You asked me something else.
Do you need donations? Do you take donations?
We absolutely take donations. So we do get a large portion of our funding. So we're a standalone nonprofit, but we do get a grant from the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services that is solid enough that keeps us running every year. In addition to that, we do fundraising. So community foundation grants. We're always looking for that, and sponsorships for our shows, as well as donations, and for people to volunteer. And we need audience. We need to come to the shows too. So in all of those ways, you can help.
Okay, great. So as we close, I want you to just give us the final word. Why is art important?
Mhm.
Why are you so much in love with it? Because I can see that that's your spirit. You need to do that in your life, and why we should support it for these people that you work with.
Mhm. Because staying engaged in the arts in some way can save your life. I'm passionate about it, Sheila, because it saved mine. And in specifically Artreach, you know, I'm a person with a diagnosis as well. And when I came in, participating in these group arts projects together gave me connection, despite that I was very introverted and shy, and helped me work on something that matters. And I have seen over the years, time after time after time, people change dramatically by finding something that gives them purpose and that they can work on and that they can choose when they're not feeling well. So it's a support tool. And, you know, to have a psychiatric diagnosis is painful. So to be able to negotiate that pain in the context of other human beings is really important. And I mean, I have found too that our community of people, because they have experienced hardship, honestly, right now, they're doing pretty well. And they're being really kind to each other and reaching out because they're used to pain. I worry about the people in the community who are not quite as used to pain, who are far more uncomfortable than they're used to being, and who may wind up with some mental health issues that are temporary but important to pay attention to as a result of what's happening now in the world.
Well, thank you, Becca. This has been wonderful. We hope that you'll open soon and you'll get the support of the community. I really can't wait to go to my first stand-up show. That's going to be great. And we thank you because in this time, you're making sure that people are connected and people have the resources to stay connected and to do art. That's very important for life. So thank you, Becca. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We'll be back next time with another interesting person on Talkback. Bye. Thanks, Becca.